Like, we are on the ground floor. It's 2026 and we're still on the ground floor of this thing. And who knows? And probably, Rob, you and I will be dead and buried before soccer in America is sort of like stable in any real sense.
This is part 2 of Morning Kickaround's conversation about USL 1 teams' ambition rankings. Be sure to check out part 1 if you missed it. Moving along, the reigning champions of this division, One Knoxville.
Yeah, I'll let you open this one up there, Rob. One Knoxville is an interesting one. Still relatively new, right? Which is tough. I mean, successful on the field, but tougher to get a line on what they might look like in the future, in a future that allows them to get promoted.
Yeah, they're currently sitting in third place in USL League One, and they're averaging over on nearly 6,500 per game there. And obviously, reigning champions. I don't know what the stadium ownership situation is at all, but obviously they've put together a really good team on the field. They provided some really good moments in their short history. Obviously, from winning the league, they had an entertaining Open Cup run. And I think they have a Matt Wolf badge as well. I think that's a Matt Wolf design as well. So they've got a nice look. They've got some success on the field. Like I said, I don't know their exact stadium situation as it stands, but I would put them pretty high in our ambitions.
Yeah, I mean, they're in a minor league baseball park right now. That's the second stadium for them. So they've been, they have kind of done the stadium hopping thing that happens for lower division soccer clubs in America. Obviously building a lot of this. And it's not that attendance decides whether you get promoted. Clearly it's about winning. It's about the competitive thing, but building stadiums indicates so much about a team's ability to be stable.
Especially in this moment, are we building for something that's going to exist for a long time? Like you said, that's true ambition. Like, I'm willing to take a bet, put some money on it, go through a lot of litigation and business and all that to put that much. It's not just a fly by night. Like, it'd be fun to have a team, and then it doesn't work out, so I'm going away. So
it's also about selling the community on what you're doing, because how many we did say Fort Wayne is privately financed, but almost in every other case, you're talking about a public-private partnership. You're talking about, all right, the community will own the stadium, the city will own the stadium, the county will own the stadium, and the club is the tenant. And we're doing this thing where it's we're going to give tax breaks for you to build it, and the land is this and that, or the team owns the stadium, but the community gets this benefit out. I mean, those things, that ability to sell, whatever you think about those stadium deals, that ability to sell the community on that partnership, and soccer being part of the town's future, it says a lot about the ambition and the ability of these clubs to compete. Because if you are worried about where you're playing, if you're worried about your stadium situation, how on earth can you focus on your on-field product to go get promoted, Rob? Because especially if you're like, well, man, that we're playing in a 5,000 seat converted minor league baseball stadium, and our lease is kind of iffy. And oh man, like, if we get promoted, can we even meet the requirement, or would we even have our stadium deal? What happens when our costs go up on our playing roster? And now what about the stadium? What the stadium cost stays the same, maybe if you're lucky, but we're spending so much money in other places. Oh, and by the way, the county controls revenue in certain ways, right? Those kind of things.
So I've got Knoxville in our promotion candidate category. Moving on to FC Naples, another Florida team, another very new and young team. Where do we rank them in our ambition rankings?
Successful, relatively successful on the field to this point in their history, right? Like some success.
This year, I think their first year was maybe a little bit more.
Last year they finished fourth, and they made the semis. So that's in terms of success on the field, and they're brand spanking new. That was year one, right? Yeah. So year one, they made the semifinals of USL League One. That says something. I mean, there's always this. You have to be careful, because sometimes expansion teams are just new enough that nobody knows what to do with them. Like, how do they play? What do we do? Like, there's no familiarity. There's no book on them. Sometimes that just enthusiasm of a new club can push them up through. And then year two, bang, you hit reality, right? Year two, sophomore slump, and the bottom drops out, or you're just not as good. St. Louis and MLS and San Diego and MLS come to mind. I'm just using MLS examples because there's so much expansion in those leagues. But obviously, if you have success out of the gates, you're capturing some interest in the town, right? Naples is a place that I always think of it as a retirement community, but there's probably some latent interest in the sport in that place. They're, as you said, this year not as good, 12th right now, below the playoff line. It's about stadium. They play in the Paradise Coast Sports Complex Stadium. Like that stuff. Just in terms of the ability to bring revenue in, so they can spend money, so they can get promoted. Rob, I would put them. What are our categories again? Lay them out for everybody.
Our definite promotion candidate, a promotion prospect, or not a candidate as it stands.
I think the promotion prospect is probably right for FC Naples, but again, they're so new. I feel even uncomfortable labeling them anything.
Yeah. It could be. They could be anything at this point. They could be, a team that builds or could disappear because they don't have like major roots in the ground just yet. But fingers crossed. They continue to grow. They've already had some good moments in their short history. Moving along to another new team, the one that we've covered to a degree on this program, the new version of the New York Cosmos. I heard a joke saying the New York Cosmos of Paterson, New Jersey, a la the Angels in baseball. They are in last place in USL League One. Their venue seems to maybe not be ideal. Where do we rank the new Cosmos here?
Oh man. I wanted to believe, and we did a countdown to kickoff with them, and I think that lots of people there have their hearts in the right places, but it has not come together. And this isn't just about the attendance in Paterson. It's kind of about how everything feels very rickety and uncertain. And I know they tried some things and they're still plugging along. And I don't know that I've heard anything like so negative you worry about the future of the team yet. But man, that does not feel sustainable. It certainly does not feel like a team that can lean into a promotion campaign, Rob. Like that doesn't feel
still trying to get their feet underneath the table, right?
Yeah, I think that they are not at all a candidate for promotion at the moment.
All right, so the Cosmos join Charlotte with not currently a promotion candidate. Moving along, they had huge news last week. They've kind of captured a lot of hearts before their announcement of a new stadium, but about Portland Hearts of Pine. Ambition, it breaks the scale, right?
They might not. This might be the easiest one on the board, right? This Portland Hearts of Pine is. I mean, again, fairly new, but everything they've done is so impressive. You kind of throw that part out of the window, and you go, okay, well, they've hit a home run. Sorry to mix my metaphors with everything they've done, and now they have a stadium plan, and that's until it's actually built, it doesn't exist, and we shouldn't count chickens before they're hatched, all those things. But just by putting that plan together, you can see, and you have reason to believe, unlike maybe Oakland, where they got super ambitious in a big city with lots of complicated factors in building a stadium, this one feels doable. And I think Portland Hearts of Pine is maybe top of this list.
There's an easy one there. Moving right along in our list here, Richmond Kickers, one of the most storied teams in American soccer, longest lasting consecutively, and they have the biggest venue in this list, but I don't think they're actually able to use all of it.
Yeah, they play in a stadium that isn't exactly a soccer specific stadium, to say the least. It's not the worst stadium that you're going to find in American soccer, but it is. And look, they've made it their own. It's City Stadium in Richmond. It does seat 22,000, but they set their capacity at 6, which is not. So the idea is like, could they go to 20 something thousand if they wanted to? Well, they clearly have not made that choice. Marcus is saying they'd have to renovate the non-TV side in Richmond. This is also a club whose main goals have always been to sort of just keep going.
Keep on kicking.
They self-relegated, right? This is one of those teams that was like, this division is too expensive for us. We're going to go down division, and that's going to help us control our costs, and we will stay going, right? We will remain on the scene in Richmond, and a team that goes back to 1993, which is 33 years ago, and is barely
generations
anything
in American soccer parlance.
Yeah, I mean, barely anything in a European context is massive here. And the Ukrop family of Richmond are, they are like the royal family of soccer in Richmond. So for them, it's more about like, keep it going. They have a very vast youth system in Richmond under the Kickers name. So I would say that they are
not a candidate. Just because, I mean, they've done so well to embed themselves in the community. They obviously have support. They get over 4,000 a game. But like you're saying, they've just been so cautious and careful and mindful, I guess, of not they haven't got caught up and gotten over their skis like it's easy to do.
Well, and that's a club whose idea of running a club is basically, can we break even? Like, it's not. They don't want to run that club at a deficit, because if they run it at a deficit, it becomes much tougher to justify keeping it going, right? So that means that you're limited in their spending, because if you're managing your budget so that you come out even or as close to even as you can, if you're trying to limit your losses, that limits your ambition. Because going up, and again, I said this, sometimes that means leveraging your, we're going to borrow a bunch of money. We're going to spend a bunch of money. We're going to pump a bunch of money into our playing roster or whatever, so we can go up, because we think we're going to realize gains there. I just don't see Richmond making those risk decisions.
With talking about Richmond's stability and in kind of the bumpy restart for the Cosmos, I do want to bring up this stat that there's been 6 USL seasons and champions. Guess how many of those teams don't exist anymore?
Oh, no. 3?
It's 50% of USL League One champions are not operating right now.
And
those
are
that out there.
Those are
so one Knoxville, the reigning champions, Union Omaha, still rocking and rolling. Then 2023, North Carolina FC.
Yeah. Well, again, North Carolina FC is this weird zombie club that kind of exists because they're apparently applying for Premier, but also kind of doesn't exist because they're not playing soccer right now. So yeah, I mean. Yeah, interesting.
2022 with South Georgia Tormenta, which we talked a lot about them. They closed down, obvious, and then Greenville Triumph, still rocking and rolling. The 21 champions, no 2020 season, and the 2019 the debut season for this division, North Texas SC,
which is an FC Dallas operation, and obviously jump ship to go to MLS Next Pro.
So I guess they're still operating. So 2/3 of them are still operating, but just the other one is not in the same division. Continuing to our rankings, though, Sarasota Paradise, they're rocking and rolling. They've got they're obviously another very new and young team operating in a small facility on a coastal town in Florida, similar to Naples, maybe retiree, but there's a little bit more. They've got college. There's a University of Florida presence there, or Florida State rather. And I don't know if you've been to the Ringling Museum is an attraction there, and obviously white sand beaches down there. But you're trying to get you off the beach and into the stadium. Well, how are they doing?
Yeah, you can't. I mean, I'm not. Is this down? Are the Lipizaners nearby? I've seen the Lipizaners when I was a kid. You know those horses? They're the horses that dance. Okay, anyway, go look up.
Do they dance in the water or on the beach or something?
No. It's not like that. It's just like they're these big white horses, and they do these. Anyway, doesn't matter. What I was going to say is this feels to me, and it's a little bit like, as you said, like FC Naples. It's kind of like, I kind of don't want you to try too hard for promotion, guys. Like, I know you want to win games. That's what the point of the sport is, to go out and win games. But can you just kind of work on being established where you are for a little while? That's probably unfair, right? Is that unfair to kind of put that on a club like Sarasota? What's attendance look like for Sarasota, Rob?
So the attendance for Sarasota, they play in a stadium that only has a capacity of 3,000. It's like one of those, like an elite youth stadium sort of complex.
Right.
And they are currently, per Backhield's attendance tracker, Sarasota Paradise is averaging 1,600 fans.
That does not scream promotion candidate or promotion possibility to me. That screams just stay where you are. You're probably, I would put them in our lowest category, Sarasota.
All right. Yeah. So exist, rock and roll, develop some roots, and then maybe a bigger opportunity or a stadium sort of thing comes along.
Exactly. Well, I mean, at the very least, like if you start winning, maybe you drive more attendance, but it doesn't
Like
feel like that.
I mean, there's like a 3,000 capacity with a wait list sort of thing.
Yeah, that kind of thing for sure. Absolutely.
All right, moving on. Spokane Velocity.
Good job, Rob. Let's everybody give Rob a round of applause for self-correcting on that one. I know it's tough. All right, Spokane. Well, considering that you're shut down their women's team, Rob, it's really hard for me to imagine that they are candidates to go and play for promotion anytime soon.
Yeah, you'd have to agree, unless they're doubling their efforts on just operating one team at a time. But how they handled that, not great communications from the staff. And I have seen some stories about the way that the women's team was kind of let go. They're having trouble getting like unemployment benefits and stuff like that. Not necessarily being shown the exit in a kind way. Whether the Velocity are promotion candidates, looking at some of their vitals, so to speak, they're sitting right now in the table in USL League One. They're currently sitting in 6th. And then as far as their attendance, they are averaging about 1,700 fans. So they're not exactly shoulder to shoulder filling up their venue.
Yeah, look, and this is a good story. I'm going to leave aside what happens with the women's team in Spokane.
Yeah.
For a second, just because I want to talk about the story of why Spokane Velocity exists. It exists because a couple, Katie and Ryan Hardnetow. I'm doing a Rob here because it's got an X on the end. I mean, come on. Anyway, they are the first couple of soccer in Spokane, right? They are the owners of Spokane Velocity. They clearly got excited about the idea of bringing professional soccer, both men's with the Velocity and women's with Zephyr, to their town, right? This is our town. We love Spokane. We love Eastern Washington, and we want to. But these are not the kind, and I don't know what their net worth is, but it's really hard to imagine that they're the kind of people who can go, yeah, let's throw $10 million into this so that we can go and get promoted, right? Like that. I don't know, man. That's the thing. Like it is clearly they have a good play. Like their intentions are good, no matter what happened with the Zephyr in the end. I think that's tough. That sucks. Don't treat people like that. But it doesn't feel like to me that unless there's suddenly new investment in this team that comes in from somewhere else and they sell a third of the team for way less than $1 billion like Liverpool. And they find some people to throw some money into this. And like, again, stadium situation and sort of like what the ceiling is. I don't think they feel to me like a third division team, and it's going to be really hard for them to win their way and business their way out of the third division.
So would you say they're not a candidate for promotion?
I would say not a candidate. In my mind, not a candidate. Like not because of the quality of their play. They finished third last year, and as Marcus is saying, back-to-back finals appearances. Like clearly they put together some good soccer teams. And if they win, if the promotion relegation comes in, let me just again be clear about this. If they win the division, they deserve to go up. We're not arguing about the quality of the soccer. We're saying that once promotion and relegation comes into the picture, it's going to change how these clubs operate as they jockey for those spots to go up. If you really, really, really want to go up, and I know this is the allegation and I don't really love it, but what are the stakes? If there's no promotion or relegation, what are the stakes? When you're a USL League One club right now, winning a championship is your stake, right? I want to win a championship. But if winning that championship now comes with spending 100% more on your club the next season, right? Even if USL finds a way to ship you some cash to help you with that transition, like that now creates a new environment of competitiveness. And that's what we're trying to do in terms of ambition, right? And again, maybe it's unfair to throw Spokane into a category of not a candidate because of what happened with the Zephyr, but man, it's
not a good indicator, that's for sure.
It's not a good indicator.
All right, I got them in our lowest category. Moving on to Union Omaha, currently sitting in first place in USL League One. They upgraded their facility this year to Creighton University with plans to build a soccer-specific stadium.
They're top tier, 100% top tier, right? Don't they feel like a club that could easily be in the championship right now if they wanted to be? I mean,
and it's probably only current restrictions are probably preventing them that, as far as like PLS stuff is probably the only restriction.
Yeah,
right
again, I don't know about their ambition in the current scenarios of USL. Like if they've talked to USL about, hey, we would love to be a championship team rather than a League One team. I have no idea. Again, maybe they're just waiting for the idea of winning the league, and they have won, right? They have won, and maybe some of this is, again, for some of these clubs, it's like, we've established ourselves. We're here. We want to build this thing in our community. Okay, we've got a stadium plan. We've got some people are starting to sign off on the stadium plan. Okay, now we can see ourselves really pushing on and going up those tiers. But Union Omaha screams to me promotion possibilities day one of Pro Rel when it comes.
Yeah, and I just I like their badge, their logo, and quite a number of OCFC players have gone on to play over there as well. So nice. Soft spot for Omaha, and I've got them in our promotion candidate category. And in final current and operating USL League One to rank here, Westchester Soccer Club. Playing, it's like suburban New York, and they've been a great dot to add to the greater New York soccer landscape. Second year club for them. We've had ownership on here before. They definitely got into the mix. They had an exciting moment hosting NYCFC in the Open Cup.
Yeah, we talked to their owner, who, Mitch. Very wide-eyed and ready, but clearly learning. You met him in person. You got a chance to hang out with Mitch when he traveled to Michigan for the
it was the one guy in a Westchester kit or a scarf, and I was like, "Are you a Westchester fan?" He's like, "I'm the Westchester owner," and then we went from there. And I gotta say,
what a flex that is!
And that is one of the beauties of lower league American soccer, is you can literally just bump into the owner of the club in the concourse.
Yeah. I want the best for Westchester. I think it's and again, I don't think we should be in the business. And I saw somebody say something, not an ultra. So, again, become an ultra to get your comments on screen. Where's the USL's responsibility in vetting the owners? And this was a reference to Spokane. And again, we'd have to really look at Spokane velocity to say whether they did anything wrong there. I don't think that's the case necessarily, but obviously the Zephyr didn't stand the test of time, and that's a black mark on that ownership, at least for getting out over their skis in that regard. I don't want a world in which we are so strict about ownership or so strict about market selection and that kind of thing that a guy like Mitch can't start a club in his town in Westchester. Like, I kind of want that to be a possibility. Now, should there be a different entry point when the stakes feel high for us as American soccer fans, when clubs die? So when we talk about South Georgia dying, like, we don't want to put clubs in place only to have them disappear in 5 years. I hope that's not the case with Westchester. So I root for Westchester, but I can't see that club being in a position to really push for promotion anytime soon.
Yeah, at least as it stands. And other just side note, doesn't really rank their ambitions, but their commuter kit, their specialty kit they came out with, probably one of my favorite all-time American kits. I don't know if you've seen that. Have you seen that, Jason? It was floating around in the Discord.
I will look at it.
It's basically all the transit lines as a map on their stadium.
That's been done before on kits, but if they pulled it off, it is a great look. Yeah.
It's really well done.
By the way, we have a request in the chat to bring Mitch back on the show. We should do that. Maybe we do that as an end of the season. Hey, how did things go? What did your bottom line look like? What's the future of Westchester? Were we unfair to you about your potential ambition of getting promoted?
Yeah, I just placed Westchester into the bottom rung of the not a promotion candidate, and Mitch has been pretty responsive so far to any questions as things have gone along the way. So, of the existing clubs, so our rankings go this way as far as not a candidate. We have Charlotte, Cosmos, Richmond, Sarasota, Spokane, and Westchester. Prospect, so kind of our middle ranking is the Chattanooga Red Wolves, Corpus Christi, Greenville, and Naples. And in our top ranking level, promotion candidate, Boise, Avialta, Fort Wayne, Madison, Knoxville, Portland, Hearts of Pine, and Union, Omaha. But there are some teams that meant to get into USL League One and decided not to pull the trigger. And then there's some that have plans to join very soon. You see on the screen here.
So the ones that you said decided not to pull the trigger, give us.
Fort Lauderdale was one of the ones that was supposed to be in USL League One this year.
Right. This year, push that back. Doesn't bode well.
Sporting Cascades is in the same category.
Yeah, we understand the background on Sporting Cascades and what happened there. And I look again. I think you could view that. You could have a harsh reading of the Sporting Cascade situation and say, oh well, they clearly didn't. That was terrible launch, and how can you trust them to do anything good in the market, blah blah blah, because their first ownership swing was a miss. But they seem to have proper ownership. We've talked to him. He's really in. He's bought into the idea of bringing professional soccer to Eugene, right? Is what we're talking about, Eugene, Oregon. Yep. Yeah. So I not again, none of these teams we can put in any category because we haven't seen them do anything yet. Port St. Lucie,
they have to kick a ball first or exist.
They have to kick a ball. They have to have a fan in the stadium. I know they have fans like in concept, but you don't really have fans until you're kicking balls. Kick balls, get fans.
Yeah, talk to the Rodeo SC about that. We have a comment that they've pushed back to 2028, and those guys, the Rodeo Clown supporters group, definitely they're having fun making content already. So
yeah, well, look, I know I'm kind of joking about this, but I'm serious. Kick balls, get fans is the way it should go. Not get fans, kick balls, but that's American soccer. Like this is the way we do it. I guess. I think. I'm hopeful. And by the way, again, there are lots of other expansion ideas on the table that aren't even listed on the website for USL. And this is not a secret. This is not me reporting anything. But Adrian Heath, former head coach of Orlando City and Minnesota United, is attached to the Space Coast expansion or a group. He listed on the website. Told me he's moving from Minnesota to Florida as he works on that project. So, there are going to be others that we're going to have to consider in the very near future because there is an explosion in this, which is good. That's what we want. That's what Dot the Map's all about.
Yeah, the total number of teams, I think there's 17 operating clubs, participating teams in USL League One this year. That's not the number that was originally forecast. It turned out to be 17. And then if you go by the USL averages, we may lose from this division or the championship at least one in this period. So, definitely not stable footing. And I think it should be said that we want all the teams to exist and continuing and can keep those dots on the map. But existence is definitely a factor here if we're like kind of forecast years in the future.
Yeah, that's what American soccer is, right? It's shifting sands at all times. It's MLS has gotten to itself to a place. I think one of the greatest success of MLS is that so many soccer fans in America kind of hate the way it works because they see it as inauthentic. And I understand, I completely understand why you think of MLS as inauthentic. I'm also enough of a pragmatist, though, to think that MLS did what it needed to do to get where it is. And again, killed off 2 clubs in the process. Actually 3, if you count Chivas USA. The path to this has been so difficult. And here MLS is now 30 teams, completely stable, stadiums all over the country. And we're still like, they're not doing it the right way. And it's like, yeah, okay, but let's at least acknowledge that not a lot of people imagined it would be like this when things started in the mid 90s with any professional clubs, right?
And this is why we well, that's not the comment that I meant to say. This is why this is the sign I tap every time we start the show, right? The ever-changing American soccer landscape. Who's going to be here tomorrow? Hard to say. I mean, obviously, there's weather indicators. But,
and again, like I want. It's what I hope for soccer fans. It's a wish, right? It's again, do soccer the way you do soccer. You do you, however you want to engage with it. I think it's there's so many different ways to interact with soccer, and you get to make your own choices. I will resent you a little bit and not love the fact if you are just, well, I only watch English football. It's the real stuff. Like, okay, fine, whatever. Get over yourself. But if you are going to interact with American soccer, what I hope for people is to try to do it, to interact with it fairly honestly. Like there are certainly bad things and bad people and bad choices and anti-competitive elements to how soccer is operated in this country. And obviously you could argue the way MLS operates on a business perspective is monopolistic, and relationships with US soccer and professional league standards existing for only the reason to hold down challenges to MLS. Absolutely. You can argue all of those things, I think. But, I choose to look at this and go, man, this is so fascinating. Like we are on the ground floor. It's 2026 and we're still on the ground floor of this thing. And who knows? And probably, Rob, you and I will be dead and buried before soccer in America is sort of like stable in any real sense. And I think that's scary and troubling and sad on some level, because it speaks to all those mistakes that have been made, but it's also just interesting to be able to watch this all unfold in front of us and be here to chronicle all of it.
Yeah, it's definitely something worth following, and the American soccer landscape ever changing. So that doesn't ever really seem to be a dull day as we follow this era, still the ground floor of the sport in our country.